Next up, we have 2021's game of not 2021. And that is a game originally released prior to January 1st, 2021, that got either a new port, HD remake, or substantial DLC in 2021. Previous winners in this category: 2016, Red Dead Redemption's Xbox One port; 2017, Final Fantasy 12, The Zodiac Age, the crowning achievement in the Game of the Year career of Jack Lazel; 2018, Donkey Kong Tropical Freeze's Switch port; 2019, Resident Evil 2 remake; and 2020, Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 1 and 2, which I think was the most decisive instance of this category that has ever taken place. We should have just fucking cut the cord straight away on that one instead of even talking about anything else. But anyway,
I really feel like this is my category because I look at every single game on here and I'm pretty sure that when it came down to it, I would have voted for every single game on the list here.
Yeah, I think Red Dead Redemption was you as well.
Resident
Evil 2 feels like it might have been me and Barry might have been involved in that a bit more.
You were, but me and you specifically with Resident Evil 2 had
and Tony Hawk was unanimous.
Oh Christ!
Anyway,
yeah.
So this year's contenders: Alan Wake Remastered, the current gen remaster; Baba Is You, the level editor and new level packs; Control Ultimate Edition PS5 port with expansions; Dead Cells Fatal Falls DLC; Dying Light Switch port; Mass Effect Legendary Edition, which is a current gen HD port; Pokemon Brilliant Diamond Shining Pearl Switch remake; Resident Evil 4 Oculus Quest 2 port; Super Mario 3D World and Bowser's Fury Switch port. Hold on, how did this not make it on here? I'm doing a write-in for this one, gentlemen.
Disco GTA trilogy, I swear to God.
No.
I'm sorry, Disco Elysium, the final cut, is getting on this, and I don't give a fuck.
All right, look, can we just say Dave's gonna cut don't just we don't need to hear it, Dave. You want that to win. We know you want that to win.
Guys, if this wasn't precluded from the main event, this is my game of the year 2021.
Yeah, that's why I mean, I have no problem stepping out of the way for this, because I do not have
of 1,000 burning suns about this game.
I do not have the energy to fight Dave on Disco Elysium.
First up in this category is Mark.
I put it on here, and I'm going to take it straight off because I didn't actually play it, but I feel like one of the biggest omissions we've had in the time we've been doing Game of the Year is that Dead Cells didn't get a shout that it should have from the year that it came out, because that's one of the best games that I've played since it came out, that I just didn't play it in the year that it actually came out, other than the short period of time that I played it with Dave. So I'm just putting it here just because at some point I've needed to talk about Dead Cells on this show and on this Game of the Year show, and I've never been able to do it. So
yeah, I had it on my 10 the year it came out. And was it that you hadn't gotten to it?
I just hadn't got to it.
Yeah,
I hadn't got to it. I played like a whole bunch of it, I'm going to say last year.
Yeah, I knew you'd love that once it happened.
Yeah. So I know that they have announced new DLC for next year as well, and I'm going to actually get to that because Dead Cells it's so good. But I actually didn't play it. I just wanted to nominate it because Dead Cells is great. So yeah.
Right. Next up is Barry.
Yeah, I've got a couple of in mind here, because I was I think it was an interesting year for remakes and DLCs and ports and stuff.
I feel like it's the most packed year we've had.
Yeah,
heavy hitters.
It's really good. So I put some on here that I actually ended up not getting around to. So first and foremost, Resident Evil 4. I've heard nothing but great things. I did not get around to playing it, unfortunately. I don't have a Quest 2. I was trying to see if I could maybe trade up. I could not. I did not get around to playing RE4 on Quest. I've heard literally nothing but great things. But I can't go to bat for it. I didn't play it.
I feel like stunned to know I didn't play it.
Yeah,
swap headsets with me. Swap headsets with me. And
I feel like, based on none of us actually playing it, but just it getting so much praise, taking it off now, but making sure it was on the list in the first place is the perfect way to do this.
Yeah,
it's a great game.
Right.
And it will always be a great game, no matter what format.
So I'm up next. I think I put it on. I think I'll take it off. Mass Effect.
Never got around to it.
It looked good. It looked good. I haven't played it. I've watched it be played. Looks good. But do I think it troubles anything, particularly my own passion project here? No, I don't. Do I think that this is going to be a swerve and turn out to be a surprising Mark Robinson game? No, I do not. I don't think this could be further from a Mark Robinson game if it tried.
I have played 2 hours of the original Mass Effect, and I went, this game to actually play fucking sucks. And I don't care about how in-depth and involved Mass Effect 2 gets and all that shit does if I can't be fucked with how this play. And I know that apparently the game gets better to actually play like with the second and third one, but if that first one ain't working for me, get fucked.
Thank you for demonstrating how well I know you. Very well. And also, you know, at the end of the day, like it's the trilogy, isn't it? Is this remastered collection? At the end of the day, even the Mass Effect stands hate Mass Effect 3. So like, you know, so there is that. Jack, you're next.
I don't know if I just I feel like just because I don't want the ignominy of someone else cutting it, I'm gonna take Pokemon Brilliant Diamond.
And if you didn't do it, I was gonna do it.
And if you didn't do it, I would have done it.
I was happy to leave it, boys. I was happy to leave it, you know.
Well, that's what I mean. Like, you would have taken that
It's
anyway.
just,
you know,
it's fine.
Diamond and Pearl are good games, and it is a really cool version of those games.
But
they've added some cool stuff to it. Like, I love the new sort of underground feature. I think it's really awesome, and there's some good quality of life upgrades. And you know, I'm on board with the chibi art style. I know some people aren't, and I really hadn't touched those games in over a decade, so it was cool to kind of delve back into them and not be hideously offended and like in the way I was by the end of what I'd done with the GTA Remaster collection. So like, this is a sort of like stereotypical like above ham sandwich, but not quite as good as some of the better games that I've played this year. Remake of a good game. And and I know the argument from a lot of people is still always going to be, it's a Pokemon game, it does what a Pokemon game does, which is completely true. So I am pinning all of my hopes on Legends of Arceus next year being really good, being like transcendent, being something that I really want it to be, which, you know,
I would say don't get all your hopes up on that.
I was going to say it might end up in biggest disappointment or hamest sandwich next year. But yeah, these are good. Like I've played like quite a bit of it. I really enjoyed it.
I'm a few hours in. Like I thought I was gonna be like a lot more down on it because like a lot of the things I was hearing people say about it were pretty negative for like a remaster one of these old games. But I think it comes from the fact that like I don't think Diamond and Pearl are the most beloved generation necessarily.
No.
And I started playing it, and I think the chibi art style is kind of like wearing a bit thin on me personally. But in terms of like, again, mechanically, like you kind of alluded to there, Jack, it's a Pokemon game, and at the end of the day, they are fundamentally fun for me to play.
I'm finding myself sleepwalking through it. Like I'm playing it, but I'm not actually playing it.
Do you know what? It's a good have a box set on the TV while you're just kind of like you want something to play on the Switch.
Like I feel like I don't know if it's a case of as we get further into these generations and they're doing these remakes, that my like emotional and sentimental connection to them is waning because, you know, that's just, I got older as I was playing these Pokemon games. But it does feel like of these remakes that we've had, it's the one that has had the least impact on me. You know, you go from the Fire Red and Leaf Green and everything that meant, and, you know, just doing a remake of that original game and all the stuff with the Sevi Islands, you know, then, you know, Gold and Silver being remade, just in itself, the fact that it was Gold and Silver being remade. And
honestly, Heart Gold and Soul Silver, like if we'd been doing this the year those came out, shit, I would have been like fucking going to the wall for those games.
Absolutely, and I would be there with you. And I really liked the Ruby Sapphire remakes.
They were wicked. Like the whole thing of like flying around and stuff into the different parts of the game, that was super cool. But these remakes aren't as cool as any of those three remakes that you just mentioned. They're good, but they're not that cool.
This is distinctly middle of the pack for me. And do you know what? Really like going forward, it would be interesting to see if the inevitable remakes of Black and White end up in here.
Do you know what?
Because again, this is the, like you were talking about Diamond and Pearl, the ones I have distantly the least emotional attachment to are Black and White, because it's the generation of console I completely missed. I came to the
really
DS
cool,
with the 3DS because of Link Between Worlds. I didn't play either of those games. I played maybe the opening hour or two of Black on an emulator, and that's about it. So I'll be very interested, because I'll basically be coming in fresh to those, so it wouldn't have to do a lot to impress me. But anyway, look, that's for 2-3 years down the line. Let's keep this
2024
on the rails for 5 minutes.
2024.
Yeah. So that would make Mark next.
Do we want to have another fight about Bowser's Fury again, or?
No,
actually, I don't think
really.
I don't think I even actually would want to pick that next anyway, because like I think Super Mario 3D World is a fucking exceptional game.
I was gonna say, like, if you cut Bowser's Fury out of it, the remake of 3D World was really
okay.
I'm so glad 3D World got a life raft off the Wii U, because I remember you and I, Mark, probably on this podcast actually, because we were big Wii U fans, whereas they are, like, we loved 3D World when that came out, and we were telling people about how fun it was, and
no one could play it because
no one could play it.
Fucking Wii U.
No one had a Wii U, but now fucking everyone and their dog has a Switch.
I think it looks great, just the port version. They tweaked things like the run speed, which apparently was like a bugbear in the original version. They made little quality of life changes. And look, regardless of Bowser's Fury quality as a standalone thing, it's not a standalone thing. It's a cool little addition to this port, which I think actually stands to its credit. You could love it, or you could not necessarily like it. It's a fun little extra section. I think this is a great entry into this in a surprisingly good year for ports. I'm not going to advocate for it to win, so I'm happy for it to go.
It's the one thing I'll say is that, like, I much prefer this package of these two games to the other 3D Mario All-Stars, even though they have like the best Mario games of all time. I much prefer like the fact that and part of that is obviously that, 3D World was probably easier to port because it doesn't have to deal with a fucking Wii remote or the N64 controller or Flood or whatever else, so just taking that game from the Wii U and putting it on the Switch was probably a lot easier. And for the issues that I do have with Bowser's Fury, it is an original thing that they made. So I think that I probably prefer that package to the 3D All-Stars, even though, those games are what they are.
Yeah, and the Toad Treasure Tracker section still rule. And
of course.
Yeah, the Toad Treasure Tracker.
Tracker 2, please.
Yeah, just can we have another one of those? Those are real fucking fun.
Yeah, and at a reasonable price point this time.
Oh, no, be like 50 quid, mate. No problem.
Yeah. Right. Okay. Barry, you're up next. This is interesting because what I'm looking at here of these remaining 5 is 4 that I suspect people definitely feel passionate about, and 1 that I think maybe you were the only one who put it on.
Yeah. One of those kind of miracle ports, but I just...
It's one I intend to get to at some point.
Yeah,
as well, for sure.
But I can't muster passion for Dying Light on Switch. Really impressive, like very compromised. Like it's not like, oh my god, it looks exactly like it does on a PS4. Obviously not, but like all the compromises, they're significant, but they're also perfectly reasonable. And I think they struck the balance so well.
It reminds me of the Doom port for Switch, where it's like there were compromises where compromises have to be made, but still fundamentally for people who didn't get a chance to play it on a PS4 or an Xbox One, they had a good, if compact, version of that experience for them.
Yeah, and the thing you always have to consider with these Switch ports is, I know this is something Garrett Kidney enthuses all the time, is like when you're comparing graphics versus the other consoles, you should also compare whether or not you can pick up the PS4 and play Dying Light, that version, on the bus. You cannot do. So the Switch version of Dying Light, great, but I don't think it wins.
And I'm always happy that a game like that got another chance at another audience, because as you'll all remember, way back in the day when it came out, I championed Dying Light big time. I think that game fucking rips. It's so good. It nails that first person parkour type stuff and melee combat better than almost anything I can think of. And it does the Left 4 Dead thing better than not Left 4 Dead, Dead Island.
Dead Island,
because it's former Dead Island people,
right.
And they made a better version of the game they tried to make originally. I think that game is great. I am very, very nervous about the sequel.
Right.
I don't know. There is something in my waters that tells me that is going to be. I just don't know. There's something really off whenever I see material or advertising or any new slice of that game that makes me feel a bit weird about it. But I'm hopefully it's just because I feel so positive about the first one. I'm just nervous, and it turns out to be great. But we'll see. Yeah, I'm happy to see it go at this point. I am next. Speaking of ports, I wish I got to and definitely will. But I've got 3 games I feel very strongly about, and Alan Wake, so I'm going Alan Wake.
Yeah, it's fair. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
It also feels like it is. I don't want to undersell the work they did, but it kind of seems like they got it on the new machines. It got a spit shine. That's it. It's not. They did not reinvent that game in any significant way.
It was also like, I think, a really good decision to put that game out after, I think, the appetite to play it would have increased. 1, after Alan Wake going on Game Pass, and 2, after another one of the games on this list tease up interest in not only the original Alan Wake but the now announced sequel. Right. So I think it was in terms of like strategizing a remaster or a remake, I think it's one of the cleverer ones that came out this year. But yeah, as you said, I don't think it hangs with the other 3. Right, Jack.
Oh my god, bloody hell! Actually, these are tough. So we're down to. Basically, Dave, any of these 3, if I were to cut them, I feel like you would hate it.
I have 2 in particular dogs in the race. I think basically for me, it's like number 1, gap, number 2, huge gap, number 3, and then huge gap again, and the rest of the stuff we've already eliminated.
Yeah.
You know.
Well,
like,
look,
that's how I feel.
I love Baba Is You.
Yeah,
absolutely love it. I think some of the stuff that they've done to it, and bringing a level editor into a game that you kind of have the ability to like rewrite things within to solve the puzzles, is really cool, because it just throws wide the possibility for some really creative people to just do some really awesome things, some really difficult puzzles. And I think it's such a good lateral thinking game, and it's one of those games where, you know, you don't want your kid to sit for hours in front of a video game, but if your kid sat for hours in front of Baba Is You, I think it would genuinely improve their problem solving ability and their understanding of how things work in terms of like coding. Like, it's a perfect thing to sit down like a sort of like pre-secondary school kid to say, like, if you move this, then Baba does this, and if you move that, then the water becomes fire and the fire becomes water, and stuff like all of those little things that I love about it. And they're all still there, and the level edit just really adds to it. And the additional level packs, some of them are just outrageous in terms of difficulty. I see Mark shaking his head. There's some real toughies in there, and so I think that's a genuine improvement. And of the 2 games left, I've listened to you all year, like in different sections, talk about how much you love Disco Elysium, and from what you have said and what other people have said, it sounds fantastic. So of the 3 remaining, I would probably cut the Ultimate Edition of Control.
You listen to me talk. Well, yeah, funny.
Yeah, I listen to you. I love listening to you talk. Like, you're one of my favorite people to speak on anything.
Yeah. You've heard me talk all year about Disco Elysium, but you've heard me talk for probably 2 years about Control.
Yeah, I do. But also, of the 2 games, I
thought Jack was joking. Are you actually trying to cut Control?
So did I at first, but he's actually serious.
No, I'm cutting Control. Yeah.
No, you're not. Absolutely not.
Nope. Nope.
I just want to like.
Dave, are you seriously saying Control over Disco Elysium for the amount you've?
Nope, but I'm saying Baba Is You. I'm saying Baba Is You is third by a country fucking mile.
Can I say in regards to Baba Is You that The concept of the level editor is incredible, but I will say the execution of the level editor is in some ways harder than half of the fucking levels in that game.
Yeah, it is
incredibly obtuse to try and use. And I'm sure with time, you can kind of figure it out. But like, I was trying to do it on the Switch, and I got to a point I was like, I'm not actually having fun with this.
No.
Like, the idea of a level editor for that is unbelievable, but I do actually find that the actual kind of execution of it is a bit flawed. It's just it's too complex.
Yeah, it's a nice idea, and I love that they put in new level packs, and it gave me an excuse to dick around with Baba Is You again. But like, compared to these other two, it's night and day. It's night and fucking day.
I just couldn't give a shit about Control. I really couldn't.
And I champion that as well.
Grief.
Could not give a fuck. Could not care less.
Control is genuinely one of the best games of the last 5 years.
It's the gameplay is really fucking boring. I'm sorry.
No, it's not.
It's 2019.
No,
it's 2019.
I found that game. But the difference is I actually sat down and played that for about 4 hours compared to 2019, and I just found it really fucking boring.
I've platinumed it twice.
I'm very happy for you.
To echo something Dave said about Disco, when I was actually doing my blog, even though you said we could include remasters and stuff, I mean, as a rule, I said I'm not going to do that. But if I did, Control Ultimate Edition would be top 3 again for me this year.
Yeah.
I did not platinum it the first time, because here's the thing: Control Ultimate Edition is not just a great new version of the game; it's a fucking redemption. That PS4 version, that has got to be one of the worst performing versions of a great game I've ever played in my life.
In terms of like the amount of work they put into it to make it look like this game came out like 2021, built from the ground up for PS5, Xbox Series X, it is pristine.
It is amazing, and so I didn't platinum it the first time. I did beat it, but this time I beat it, and I was like, this is like I am playing it the first time, and I went through and I platinumed it, and that means going around, because most of the side stuff is good. Some of the platinum stuff is a little bit menial. You're kind of wandering around waiting for enemies to respond to kill them in a particular way. But like, and here's the thing: like, it's not just a visual thing. I thought the gameplay was elevated by that performance boost, because it was honestly, it was like I was playing it for the first time.
Yeah.
And I was just
it was like, every bit of combat, every like way you have of like flying or levitating or using your telekinesis of that works better, works smoother, feels more dynamic. You can obviously, because like the frame rate is higher, everything is so buttery smooth, you can things feel not less frantic, but more kind of like you can reason out your strategy for doing different things. It is also as well, like, again, that game world, I just want to be enveloped by the world of Control so much at all times.
That sounds like a nightmare.
I think all the
I can't co-sign that. I can't.
Not as in live in it, but I am just obsessed with the world of Control. I fucking love it. I love every little bit of environmental storytelling, every little like audio log, everything like that, and I seldom ever bother with that shit. I loved it. The run to the platinum as well. That you're encouraged to do again by having this as a complete edition with all the DLC and stuff like that in it. The run to the platinum, there are moments that are meaningful, but there are also stuff like the bosses that aren't part of the critical path are some of the best challenges on show in that game. Then we talk about the two expansions. Like the Alan Wake one is a cool little like Remedy verse unifying grand theory of an expansion. But people don't talk enough about the Foundation expansion, which is just like some of the balls to the wall, weirdest fucking multi-dimensional shit that game does. And that game does a bunch of that shit all the time. It's really fucking cool. And just when you thought you've seen it all with how that game does things and operates, it throws some more wild shit at you. It is just a pristine, awesome package. It is the best version of a game that I already thought was one of, if not the games of that year,
of that generation for me.
Of the generation. It is. I will keep coming back to this game every couple of years. Like, it's on that list. It's on I will never get tired of it. I will always enjoy it. I'm telling you, as soon as they announce a Control 2, tell me how much that fucking thing is. Do I have to remortgage my house? I don't give a fuck. I want Control 2. I want it now.
Yeah, but Dave, tell us why Disco Elysium wins this then.
Disco Elysium is one of the best games I've ever played in my life. Like, it is one of those rare experiences I have where it completely turned me around on a mechanic and a genre at the same time. It is an almost entirely text-based game in the way you interact with it. The only real combat or interaction mechanic that there is to speak of, apart from like your RPG elements of like upgrading various skills and kind of, you know, rebuilding your character, do different things like that, is a dice roll mechanic, which is the most like in concept, the most off-putting fucking thing in the world for me. But the more I play it and the more you get sucked into this world, the big selling point of the game, the thing that kept me going when maybe originally, like in the first hour or two, like, oh, I don't know about like this, you know, all this text and this dice roll thing like that, was how unbelievably well written this thing is from the jump, how well voice acted it is as well. I think in terms of like what we're talking about for this category, just if I make a sidebar for the moment of the idea of like 2021's game and not 2021, to me, and again, you know, your interpretation of the spirit of this award may vary, but to me, this is the perfect version of this, because I think a lot of people played Control, and that's cool. I think a lot more people should play it. I think it should be fucking mandatory on the school curriculum.
I can get into it, man.
But Disco Elysium is the perfect version of that, because Disco Elysium came out on PC and fuck all people played it. And it wasn't like it didn't have like a bit of a intrigue to it, in as much as like the original version on the PC before the Final Cut version had a decent bit of publicity, because they got all of the hosts of Chapo Trap House to voice characters in that game originally. So that got like a good bit of buzz going for it. But because it was away on PC, not a lot, like it had a hardcore fan base, like a small cult fan base around it, but fuck all people played it. This year it came to all the consoles. Switch just came out recently, but the Final Cut version, where they put a lot of work into it, they up-resed everything, they made the text more kind of readable. If
I recall, didn't it have some like teething issues at launch though?
That was going to be my main, not to put Dave through the barbershop window here, but in the spirit of this award, you and I both agree that Ultimate Edition redeemed Control in a lot of way, and I know this version of Disco Elysium got it out to more people. But like, even as we speak, is that version fully like functional and fixed? I mean,
dude, it was within like a couple of weeks. That
I didn't play it, so I can't. I'm not saying that, but it just kind of seemed like for a while after launch, people, even the PS5 version, were like, "This is not what it needs to be." You know? So
one, there's only a certain amount I can speak on it, because again, it's all secondhand, because I played the whole thing from the day it came out, start to finish, on my PS5, and never experienced a single technical hiccup whatsoever. So I can't give personal examples like I could say of when, you know, Control, anybody who's played Control on the last gen console saw the chuggy chug chug. Like even me on PS4 Pro saw some of the chuggy chug chug, but I didn't see any of it in Disco Elysium. My understanding is, yes, there was some issue with a couple of like busted things in the first couple of weeks. I remember there was a lot of patching and post-release support to it. Again, like maybe other people's experiences vary. Other work that went into the game before launch, like I said, the Chapo guys were on it originally, but they literally went and gone, right, if we're doing this on console, we're doing this big time. And they went and contracted an entire cast of professional voice actors, did every single line of dialogue in the entire game with different people. And there is a lot of dialogue in this game, because this game is essentially just people having conversations about things. It is one of the most, I said this in my blog post, it is one of the most true expressions of the idea in an RPG that you can build your character like you like. You know, we've seen that 1,000 times before in games, and really all that usually ends up happening is you have like that kind of dual path of like, are you Captain America or the biggest piece of fucking shit that's ever walked the earth? That's usually the way it goes. There might be like maybe one in between, you know, like I think of, you know, Red Dead Redemption has that slider, and you can kind of stay in the middle without people necessarily thinking you're awful or great. So
fucking centrists.
This though, like you can again, I said in my blog post, you can come out and be completely incidental of what's going on here, because it is so the story on the face of it is like a murder mystery. You are a somewhat disgraced alcoholic, drug addicted detective who wakes up in this fucking shithole of a part of town with no memory of even what his name is. He was that fucking blasted, and you have to solve a murder of a hanged man out the back of this restaurant pub area. That's the kind of that's the inciting incident, but it's so much more than that. But you, as that character, Harry Dubois, you can build him to be either like the most by the book, he's the world's greatest detective. You can build him to be a labor organizing communist. You can build him to be a horrendous, disgusting, despicable fascist. You can raise him to be a weirdo libertarian. You can bring him to be any number. I think there must be upwards of 20 permutations of what this guy's personality ends up being. He can be a complete drug addicted partier. He can be a guy who believes in cryptozoology. The list goes on. And it's so fucking weird. It's got such a charm to it. I love the art style that feels like I'm walking and interacting with a series of oil paintings. And it has one of those, I can't remember what game you were talking about earlier, Barry, but it has this tactile griminess and dirtiness to it.
Right.
That is so perfect for the world it's in. I get the writing. I just can't talk enough about the writing in this game and how every single character is so fleshed out and feels lived in and feels like it existed prior to the events. A lot of games, a lot of movies feel like this character exists to serve a script's purpose, and did not exist before this scene started, will not exist after it ends. It feels like I have been plonked into a world that has existed for decades, centuries before I've been there, and everybody has their own backstory, their own motivations. It is also maybe the most swerved back and forth I've ever been in the detective genre of games, where you're you think what the answer to the crime is, who did it and why, and you go all over the place. It led me down blind alleys. It led me back towards initial suspicions. It led me to doubt myself, to doubt other characters. Briefly, I thought I did it. It is I know I'm on my own on this game, but this is genuinely one of my favorite games I've played in my entire life.
Listen, I believe your passion, and I'm going to make one of my classic ill-fated promises. I feel like I've told 6 different people at this stage I'm going to play Disco Elysium since the fucking thing came out.
Yeah,
I really want to get to it. Maybe even it might be for the remainder of my Christmas break. So to me, it's just but so is the main thing in this final cut, sorry, the voice acting. I mean, I'm gonna be a semantic dickhead and say what's in this versus voice, because all that stuff you love was in the last one.
So they voice acted, they reanimated a bunch of the game.
Okay.
They fixed a lot of issues that the PC version had, is my understanding of what people have said about it. They've also rebalanced the entire RPG system to make it more kind of diverse and less arbitrary, I think.
Okay.
Again, you may, as can often be the case with RPGs, when you see how many different options there are for you, it can be you'd almost be anxious at having too much choice because you're so used to it being one or the other. But yeah, no, they did a bunch of work on this, and it is for
the first time, I think, during this recording, friend of the show, Matt Niner, has been championing this game since he completed it. And now, in fairness, he is a very emotional man, and he kind of wildly oscillates between sheer depression and just crazy glee, but I believe him when
that's the life of Spurs.
Monsters,
But I do believe him, and when we did episode 200 and we had a bunch of guests come on, Jeff Tanton, like he spoke about what he his feelings and emotions with this game and how he laughed and he cried and like it is a game that I do want to play, and I've slowly over the years transitioned more to I can play and enjoy these sort of story games. It still intimidates me quite a bit, because as David's kind of mentioned there, it's purely story, so but I do want to sit down. I do want to play this game based on what the people I know who I respect their opinions and what they said, and I do feel like
me,
and also Dave, and I do feel like the Switch is the perfect place to just kind of like I don't have to sit there for 2 hours and overload myself. I can just pick up for 15 minutes.
The
whatever.
Only thing I would say, like having not played the Switch version, Niner will be the man to talk to because he's getting the Switch version and playing it again. Is just because there's so much text that I don't know how the text is scaled in it, but again, I'm assuming that will be factored in.
I would hope so. Yeah.
So like it's just because like there is so much, I wouldn't want your experience to be hampered by it being tiny, but you'd have to imagine.
Well, look, Dave, all I'm saying is I'm voting for that because I fucking hate Control. So you're welcome. Maybe
you are, as the gossip once said, standing in the way of Control.
Dave, look at the people you partner with, brother. What are we doing here? These Control slanderers.
Look,
they'll turn on Disco Elysium in a heartbeat.
Can I just
that? I think can I much just like say, Last of Us Part 2.
Let me say something about Control.
Jack,
please, because you. Please, like I tried to start playing Control. I don't want to be a Control slanderer. I said I don't care about it. Like I couldn't get into the game. I kind of felt alienated by it, trying to get into it. I played like a couple of hours because it was free on the PlayStation 5, like really soon after it launched, and there wasn't much else about. And I just couldn't sink my teeth into it. So I do want to apologize to the pair of you.
No apologies necessary. No,
Jack, you are right. Don't apologize, okay?
Like, no. Look, it's not about
look who you're partnering with, Jack.
Yeah. The same guy that screwed me on Guardians. I'm sorry, basically, is what I'm gonna say. And this is not a bit. This is not me. Like,
no, I would never accuse you of that.
Psychonauts 2 or whatever, just to raise up ire. But I could see from the visceral nature of the reaction, I didn't really think that too much else had really changed with Control. Because of the ones on here, it's funny that you've got two games that are so modern. Like, and their release dates are so close to like this year compared to if you look at every other thing on here, everything or three of these games really, but everything else on this list have come out like at least 5 or 6 years before. So I just think it's a really funny. Sorry,
Dead Cells was like 2019.
Yeah, but that's also not a port. That's DLC.
Yeah, but DLC is one of the criteria in this category.
No, I understand that. But just like
Yeah, no, I mean like previous winners, right?
Yeah.
So there's gonna be a winner this year, and all of these games came out within 2 years of they're all like 2019 plus, aren't they? Yeah. So yeah, I find that a strange anomaly, but honestly, from like my vote would be obviously Babra's Year. I do think we should get to voting now because I don't feel like there's much left unsaid about any of these things. But my vote would probably be Babra's Year. But I would say, of the other two games, from what you said about Disco Elysium and what you said about Control and the story and everything like that, Disco Elysium sounds infinitely more interesting to me than Control. Yes, maybe some like a sort of averagey start to the game and not really being able to get into it, but just genuinely sounds like something that I know that I would probably vibe with more. It sounds cooler. You've cut such promos on it that have really convinced me in the last few months. So I'm on board with you if it comes down to Disco.
It's wild because it's two of my favorite games ever. in this category, but
I wish I could vote Babra's You, but again, I found that level, the level editor was so just not conducive in a way that you could just pick up, like in the way that it's completely fucking different to like a Mario Maker, but the ease which you can pick that up and start making levels is pretty like I spent half an hour just trying to figure out the actual like the button layout and what that corresponded to. It's just honestly it's a bit of a mess. I think he could have done such a better job with laying that out. I played a couple of levels of the expanded stuff, and it's amazing that the fact that expansion was free and it had all those extra levels. Like it's so good. I'm so happy that that we got that. But I also think it was a missed opportunity to make that even more.
I think the cool thing is, of the 3 games left, the most additional content is probably in Baba Is You. But obviously not content that has appealed to everybody as much. You know, and I guess like because it's like the port thing and stuff as well, then if we kind of have to let Baba Is You go, which I know I don't have support from Mark Dell, so I definitely am going to do that, then I am going to back Disco Elysium in line with you, Dave. So there you go. I'm laying my cards on the table right now. So.
Now he votes for a write-in.
Interesting. Interesting. Jack, stick to your guns. Come on, Control. Let's go.
Love you, buddy. You know what, like of the remaining 2, I win either way, so I'm having a great time here now.
I mean, I gave up the principles of writing long time ago when I was shouted down vociferously and then started trying to fuck my own shit up. So
I just need to make sure that everyone is aware, right, that like it is officially documented that APAL is actually better than Control.
I through this doc,
and the best thing is you'll
also,
be reminded that
what's this weird little conversation game better than Last of Us 2 last year? Is that an error, Dave? Let's get that out of there. Like, you know.
Yeah, anyway, Hades is better than Last of Us 2. Thanks.
Probably.
All I'm saying is, Barry, I was going to say it earlier on, but like, if you want to do another one of our 2.5-hour spoiler casts about Control 2, I'm there for you.
Absolutely.
Fuck, if you want to do it about Control 1, I've got a lot of January free.
I'd say we could make it work.
Yeah, but Mark, please, I think we know what camps myself and Barry are in, so please.
I mean, you could probably have any other game on here, and I'd vote for that over Control. So, but yeah, no, I do want to play Disco Elysium, and it does sound very compelling.
I would be like, not to say I'm not interested in what Jack thinks about it, but just for your traditional sensibilities, I am the most interested to see your take on it, because I can see like Jack gets won over by like story and I like and stuff like that easier than you traditionally have.
Yeah.
I can see him pushing through that initial of the like the dice roll stuff.
Al Pacino section,
but I would be oddly compelled to try and make a weirdo libertarian. Like I'd like to see how,
and you will be able to do that, my friend.
I'd like to see how that is, executed. I'm going Disco.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't even get to speak on that, like the half of what I love about that game and how like funny and dark and dramatic and blah blah blah.
Just go back and like, I think if you go back into the Link to the Cast archive, I think not only not only is there great stuff from Dave in there, and like all of the episodes are tagged up with the moment in the episodes that Dave spoke about it, which quite a few times this year, and again really passionately, intelligently broke down all the great points. But like you said, it was Jeff, wasn't it, on our episode 200, who I think was that initially what prompted Dave to get to the game, and he also cuts a hell of a promo on it. So yeah, if you guys go back in the archives, you got a lot of Disco Elysium content right there.
So without further ado, 2021's game of not 2021 is Disco Elysium, the final cut.
I'll tell you what, we do have outdone ourselves with write-ins here. That's 3 write-ins that have taken titles. Yeah. So anybody that did our next year is going to be like, nah, fuck these guys. I ain't going to answer this.
Well, let's, speaking of people voting in the poll, let's go to them and see what they said. So for 2021's game of not 2021, the fans voted with 20.7% of the vote for Mass Effect.
Yeah, I mean, that was very successful. A lot of people played it.
Whatever.
Tied in second were Super Mario 3D World.
Yay.
And Control.
I get
it. Ash in my mouth. That is, honestly.
And then, like, it has to take a lot for me to turn on Control. A game that I still feel so passionately about and love so much. And where did it finish in Game of the Year that year?
Second, I think, wasn't it?
Second, yeah.
Behind the far superior Ape-Out.
More's the pity.
This weird little cutesy flash game thingy on Switch that had no lasting legacy. That stuff imported to shit. you know. So
oh, I'm sorry,
Doesn't
Barry. I
need
thought
to
you
be.
didn't like mainstream things. I thought
Oh
you
my
thought
God.
mainstream things were too played out and
well,
overused.
it depends. It depends. Context is key.
Barry, honestly, just messing about.
Okay.